Okay guys, in today's video we're gonna create this cool looking letter by letter title animation. This is another example how you can use Title Plus effect to create a stunning animation. If you're new to Title Plus, I strongly recommend to see those two videos. And now let's start with the tutorial. In order to create this effect, we're gonna use Fusion. I will try to go really slow, so even if you're a total beginner with Fusion, you should be fine. Okay, so let's jump into the Fusion page. If you hear some strange noise, sorry for that. I'm actually recording outside. The evening is very, very good, very nice. Okay, so we are in the Fusion page. You got inspector that we're gonna use very often. You got this navigation window. You can activate it by tapping V, and you got a notes panel and two preview screens that you can switch between single and double. I like to have two preview screens. So first grab a text node, and you should have media out, your text plus node, and this is previewed on my viewer on the right because we got this white dot enabled. You can preview it on both screens or only on the left, or you can disable the preview, but of course we want the media out to be previewed. Then let me grab background node, so simply drag it to the nodes panel, disconnect this line, so double click it when it turns blue, and connect instead your background node. Okay, so we can see right now on the right a background node which is black. If I click it and go to the inspector, I can change it to transparent. That's what I'm gonna do. So grab the alpha control and set it to 0. Now we got our background node transparent. Okay, so we got our text node that is not connected. I can preview it on the left, so I can tap 1 on keyboard, or I can click this dot. And let's introduce some text. So let's say this is my title animation. Correct the font, the boldness, size, something like this, tracking. So basically prepare your text and merge it over the background nodes. So let me zoom out a bit this notes panel. My screen is small because I'm recording only on my laptop. Now what we're gonna do is to merge the text node over our background node. So simply drag the output of the text node and put it right after the background node. It should create a merge node like that, and automatically you should see the media out with your text because you got our background node, which is transparent. On top of that, we got our text and we got everything displayed on the media out. Okay, so this is our first step, our first introduction to Fusion if you see it for the first time. But so far, I think it should be clear. Let me disable the preview on the left to not confuse you. So we are now looking only on media out, which is our final result. We get our text. Now, what I need to do is to make a copy of the text node. So I simply select it and tap Ctrl C, but I will not paste it with Ctrl V. I will paste it with Ctrl Shift V. That will create instance copy. And you can tell that it is an instance copy because there is a thin line, green line that is connected to our original node. And if I preview it on the left, this is exactly the same as my source text one node. If I change anything in my instance copy, for instance, the text, I can see the changes as well in my source clip. Let me merge the instance text copy over the merge one. So right now, nothing happened because we got the same text on top of each other. Now, select the instance text copy. And as I said, if you're new to Text Plus and you don't know how the shading tab is working and all other options, I strongly recommend to see my other tutorial where I go through most of the features, most of the controls. Again, select the instance text one and go to shading tab. In here, we got elements from 1 to 8. Right now, only element number 1 is enabled. So what I like to do is I want to the instance this control. I right click it and go to the instance. So right now, if I change it, my original text will not be affected. If I go to shading, my element number 1 is still enabled. But my instance text, my copy text is disabled with the element number 1. Okay, hope that makes sense. So with the instance text 1 selected, go to shading again and choose second element, which is the red outline. And right now, let me the instances as well, because we don't want to affect the original text, the source text. So the instance, and I will enable it. As you can see, I only enabled the outline on my instance text and not on my original text 1. Okay, in here, I will change the color to white. And this is pretty much it. Maybe the thickness a bit more, like so. And let's say this is fine. So we got our text that looks like this. We got our instance text copy that is only its outline. And we got everything merged over to the media out, which looks like this. So if I disable my second merge in here in the inspector, so I will basically disable it. As you see, my final output is without the outline. So this is basically how the Fusion page works, how the notes works, and how we can connect them. This is, of course, very simple example, but it should give you the idea. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is let's try to animate this outline first. So I got my instance copy text selected, and in my text tab, in the text box, right-click and choose Follower. That will enable the modifiers tab. So let's click it. And in the modifiers tab, you should see something that's called Follower. And in here, I will decrease the delay. I will change the order from left to right. I will leave delay type as it is between each character. That's fine. I will fine tune it later on. Okay, so now go to Shading tab. And as you see, this is the same shading tab that you can see in the Tools menu. But in Modifiers tab, if you change anything, for instance, color to green, you won't see the result, because if you want to change anything here in Modifiers tab in Follower mode, you need to keyframe it. So for instance, if I want to change this color, I need to create a keyframe. Now I can change the color to green, and it should be green now, but it's not. Why? Okay. Yeah, I've changed, actually, I've changed the element number 1. I wanted to change element number 2, which is the outline. So sorry for that. You need to be very careful and always be sure on which element you are to not mess up the effect and to not be confused. So let me double click the color control that will delete the keyframe. And as we want to animate the outline, we should go to element number 2 and remember to be in the modifiers tab.
You're goddamn right.
So we are in element number 2. It should be red, but it's not. It's white. Why? Because if you switch back to tools, go to shading and see element number 2, this is defined as white. So as I mentioned before, in modifiers tab, if you want the controls to take effect, you need to keyframe it. So if I click keyframe, as you see, it instantly changed my text, but I don't want it to be red. Let me go back with that. So I double click the color control to delete the keyframes. Okay, so let me go to frame number 0. So at the beginning of our animation, you can see that our playhead is at frame number 0. And in here, I will keyframe opacity. So at frame 0, I will set it to 0.
0!
So it should not be visible. But remember to keyframe it. It has disappeared. Now let me go one frame further to frame 1. And let's bring it back to 1. Okay? We got our first letter, first outline of the letter. Let me disable this media out to not confuse you, because right now we are focusing only on instance copy. So if you play it, the outlined letters will appear one by one, because we've defined that in our modifiers tab in timing. we've set left to right between each character, and we want the delay be 5.6 frame. So let me set it to 3 frames. If you change it to 3 frames, it should be faster if you play it. So this is the first step that we've done. You know how the follower works, what the timing tab is doing, and how you should use shading. So let me go back to shading, and right now let's try to animate it. So again, let me go to frame number 1 where the letter should appear, and in here I will keyframe the size of it and position. So I want the size to be something really big. As you see, I had to create keyframes so that it takes effect. Let me set it to 10 maybe, X and Y. Right now this letter is really, really big. And let's change the position of it. So I need to create a keyframe. If you create a keyframe for the position, it will create a path. But go back to follower and just position the text, the letter where it should be once we are at frame number 1. So let's say somewhere around here. This is our starting position. And 5 frames later, so you can just put your cursor here and tap +5. That will position you at frame 6. So in here, as you see, another letter is starting to appear. So maybe I will go back to timing section and set it to 10, because right now I want to focus only on the first letter. The rest will behave the same once we change the delay. So okay, let me go back to shading. We can see only the first letter at frame number 6, and in here I want to set a keyframe for the size. So I want to go back to the original size. So let's click this little dots. It means the default size, but we also need to keyframe the offset Y. So I will set it to 0, and this is what we got so far. See? The first letter is starting from this size and it's going to the default one. Okay, and it will continue along the way if we play it. So this is our first step. And then let's go further with that, because we want this outline to disappear over the time. So let's say +10 frames. I want the opacity to be 0.
Zero!
So let me create a keyframe here. Yeah, I forgot to create a keyframe at frame number 6. So let's create a keyframe here as well, because we want to animate it from keyframe 6 to keyframe 16. So we need starting keyframe as well. And at frame 16, I will set it to 0. So as you see, we're starting with frame 1, and we keyframe animate the size until the keyframe number 6, and then we animate the opacity to keyframe number 16. So this is actually disappearing. So if I play it letter by letter, it looks like this. Of course, the delay between the characters is too long, but this is only the idea. We'll change it later. So this is what we got so far. This is fine for the moment. And let's go back to our original text. Let me preview it on the right. We want to animate these letters as well. So I will do the same. So as you see, I got already a modifier, a follower, and the path, because it was created once we were playing with instance copy. So what I want to do here is I want to keyframe element number 1, which is this plain text. And at frame number 6, I want this letter to be visible. So one frame earlier, so frame number 5, let's create a keyframe for the opacity control. But remember that you should be in the modifiers tab and in the element number 1. This is important to not be confused. And let's create a first keyframe. Nothing happened because the opacity is 1, so it should be visible. And it was visible before. But we want at the frame number 5, we want the opacity to be 0. So let me bring back to 0. Then one frame later, at frame number 6, we'll bring back the opacity to 1. What we should have right now is a text that is appearing letter by letter, and also the outlines of the letters should appear also one by one, but with the animation that we've created. So it looks like this. And if you preview right now your media out, so let me tap 2 to preview it on the right screen, we should have something like this. We see both text on top of each other. So we got, let me disable the preview of this instance. So we should see something like this. Okay, let me go back to instance copy where we manage the outlines and go back to modifiers, shading. Remember to switch element number 2 because it was the outline. And I want to keyframe here something more. I want animate the thickness of it. So this parameter, I want this outline to be thicker at the beginning. And at frame 6, I want it to be thinner like this. So this is what we got. And also what I want to do with that, I want to keyframe softness. So from the keyframe 6 until 16, I will animate it from 0 to all the way up to 20. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe we should have this value bigger, maybe 50. Yeah. Did you see it? So the opacity and the softness of this letter is changing. Okay. Now it's time to go back to timing tab and change the delay, something like 2 maybe. Let me play it. Maybe that's too fast, maybe 3. Okay, so this is what we get so far. What you can do also with that is if you select the instance copy and open selection tool, shift space, search for Scanlines and add. It should connect between your instance copy and your merge node. As you see, it added some kind of lines to our outlines. You can further tune it in the inspector, can make the lines to be more frequent and sharper like this. So this is what we got. And what I added as well was with the Scanlines selected, open selection tool again and search for soft glow. Okay. That's too strong, of course. So what I did was I increased the glow size and I decreased the gain. And you can also manipulate the glow colors so you can make it more reddish. It looks much, much nicer. So this is what we got so far. I think that looks already very, very nice. But what you can do even more, click somewhere in the nodes panel, open selection tool again and search for DVE node and add. And right now, grab the output of the Softglow and connect it with the input of the DVE, which is a yellow triangle. Let me preview it on the left. So we got this glowy scanline outline. And with the DVE selected, open selection tool again, search for color corrector and add. Let me preview it on the left. Okay, so select the color corrector and in the inspector set saturation to 0. So it's white. And what I did was also after color corrector, so select it again, I added another scan lines. Let me preview it. And yeah, so it introduces more noise. Let's say we wanted to do it like so, and I merged everything over the background node. So what do we got? We got below this DVE. I forget about one thing. In DVE node, that's the glue and essence, I changed the Z move control. I decreased it so it's bigger than the original. And in the merge node, I decreased the blend so it's less obvious and less intense. So something like this. So we got another letter that is below the whole animation, and it introduced a bit more noise, a bit more movement in the whole effect. So let me disable scan lines preview on the left so you can see only the final result. And this is basically what we've got. This is more or less how my effect is done. Of course, this is not one-to-one. Maybe some other tweaks, some slight changes are introduced in my effect that you can download from my Coffee page. But if you want to get it for free, all you need to do is to fill in this form and it will be automatically sent it to you.
You serious?
Once you get it, all you need to do is add a text plus title to your timeline, open it in Fusion. So click this icon in here, go to File, Import, Fusion Composition, choose the file that you got from my Coffee page or from this form, open it. If you want to change the text and font and so on, just click the text one node and do whatever you like with it. But I think the bolder the text is, the better the effect looks. But of course, you can change it to my cool text or something like this. And it should be working. If you go back to edit page, it should be working. Of course, this is transparent. So if you put anything beneath, we go to generators, let's say a solid color, and let's change it to something like this. So as you see, this title animation is transparent. In my version, you get also not only the reveal, but the ending animation, which basically play the whole animation in backwards, but 5 times faster than original. You can preview how it's done in Fusion page. So that's only 2 extra nodes that I added at the end of this composition, which is dissolve and time speed. Okay, guys. So if you like that, write me a comment. That really motivates, and it's a very good for YouTube algorithm. Tap subscribe and like if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Cheers, and see you in the next one.